Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello, everybody. It's Becky Brown, and I am so glad that you joined us today. We are going to be taking calls for a couple of hours, and you can call us at 1-800-229-3000. We've got some lines open and calls coming in. We're so grateful to be able to be here. And by we, I mean Dr. Alice Benton and Chris Williams. Hello, guys.
Hi, folks.
Hey, good to be with you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So we got a news flash that came out today that the Surgeon General recently reported that loneliness is an epidemic. You know, and isn't it crazy in this world of connection, we've got loneliness as an epidemic. You know that it's associated with a greater risk of cardiovascular disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. The mortality rate of being socially disconnected is similar to smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day.
Wow.
So
Wow.
This is a pretty serious thing, but how can we become more aware of our need for connection and maybe even the awareness of we are isolated? Chris or Alice, what would you say?
I think we go back to the beginning, and let me start here. That when God created everything, he said it was good. He even said it was very good. There's a superlative in there. It's very good. And then we turn the page to the next chapter, and there is a phenomenal self-disclosure about creation. There is one thing in all of creation that is not good. Just one. It is not good for man to be alone, for people to be alone. So we are not fundamentally designed for loneliness. So it's no wonder that our systems break down in that experience. And I just want to say this, because I've been working over the last few years with a lot of the tragedies that we see in ministry and in leaders in ministry. And I'm, working on one right now that's just came out. And over and over and over and over, the common factor in each one of these instances is that the leader was apart from authentic, deep relationship. It's the universal here. And so we need to really, really take this seriously.
And we need to be nudged to get out of our comfort zone and open up about our internal life. And I think it's why God tells us you got to confess to each other. You got to tell what's going on in your head and your heart. But it doesn't come naturally to us, even though we're designed to be in relationship. But our broken nature makes us prefer and choose isolation because it seems safer on the surface. So Becky asked me before we got on air how I was doing. And the right answer in quotes is, I'm fine. But the true answer is, I'm grumpy today, and I don't even know why. And it's the choice to risk sharing what is really happening on the inside that actually connects us with other people. We can be surrounded by people, but if we're not both opening up and inviting other people to open up to us, we're going to stay lonely in the midst of a crowd.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's some people that are really people averse. They would tell you, I don't want to be around people. That's when I'm miserable. What would you say to somebody who may be challenged with connecting?
I would say connect to New Life. We have we have so many resources to help you understand what makes a person safe, what makes a person a good listener, a good receiver of our information and the things that we're holding inside, as well as what are the things that we need to do to enter into relationship. Connect with one of our coaches, connect with one of our therapists. Again, our books, our resources, there's a limited amount. So it takes work. It's a muscle that has to be exercised.
It does. And I would say that if you're having trouble, it could be because of a past relationship that keeps you from connecting. And we do want to help you. We're going to be taking calls, 1-800-229-3000. Give us a call. We'll help you get connected. We'll be right back after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle Workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, May 13th. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We were just talking about the challenges of being isolated and loneliness, and Chris gave that whole list of things that we can help you with at New Life. And one of those things is also the life recovery groups. We have people who gather all across the country. Some are online groups, some are in-person groups, but group work could be a great first step into connecting, because that's what it's really all about. But what keeps someone in that isolation? Because it's hard to get out of something that you've been in for a while. It's a comfort zone for sure.
Well, you folks know that I'm an introvert, and by nature, I prefer to be alone. And when I trust my instincts, or when I trust what I think is most comfortable for me, I tend to get worse and not better. But it's more comfortable in the moment to choose to be alone. When I trust God and His design, like Chris was pointing out, or His command for me to connect with other people, to become a triple braided cord with other people, when I trust God's word, then I grow and I actually can access true happiness, true serenity. My isolation feels comfortable because it's familiar, but it keeps me sick and stuck.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, Alice, what was that turning point for you when you discovered that connection was actually helpful for you? Because you had to make that shift somewhere.
Yes, there is a little story to it, because I grew up in the Catholic Church, have a lot of love for the Catholic Church and the reverence and the way it brought me into relationship with God. But at least the version that I grew up with was missing out on some of the community. We tended to be just me to God rather than me to community. At least that was the way that I practiced it. And I heard from a pastor around here from Saddleback Church, Rick Warren. He said that we need people, that we really can't practice what the Bible teaches without being connected with other people. I hadn't understood that before. And he pointed out that even if life is going fairly well right now, tragedy, difficulty will come, and we'll get through it better when we're connected with others. And I chose to believe that. I started to learn more about what the Bible really said. I'd never read through the Bible before. I wasn't familiar with it. Well, when I did and started to put these pieces together, I chose to believe what these wise counselors were telling me and what the Word was telling me. So I started going to groups. But Becky, it took about 14 different groups for me to find one that fit and logistically worked. Folks, it's a challenge, but once you get in, you experience it.
It is a challenge, but I love that you listened and you considered and you stepped right into it. So folks, if that's a part of your story, take the risk and it might take 14 groups, but right now we're going to take one caller right now, and we are still taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. But right now we're going to talk with Susie, who's calling us on, she listens to us on the internet and is calling from Knoxville, Tennessee. Hi, Susie. How can we help you today?
Hi there. Thank you for taking my call. I need to know how to connect with a guy that I've been dating for about 4 years. He wants to get married. I was married for a very long time, been divorced for 7 years.
Okay.
More information?
Let's see. What have you tried, though? Because if you're not feeling connected after 4 years, what has not worked?
It's not that maybe I do feel connected, but not enough to get married. We are in some kind of class now called SIMBA, Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. And it is I just don't think that I could ever do this again. I don't know how to connect enough to say I do.
So,
Okay.
Susie,
Yes.
at the very deep part of you, what are you afraid of?
Being hurt, I'm sure.
Okay. What's the story behind that?
Shuffled around quite a bit as a child and got married at a very young age, stayed married for a very long time, raised my kids, and took a lot of pride in my family. And, you know, something happens to a man when he gets in his 50s, and it happened, and that marriage is now over, not because I wanted it to be, but because that's the way it is.
Whoa. Okay. So, Susie, you've taken a
Yes.
particular story and you've made it the story.
You think?
I think so. Because you scare me. I'm terrified because I am close to 50 and I don't want to be just another guy in his 50s who does those things. I don't want to be in your story. I don't want to be the story. And so
I understand that, and I apologize for doing that.
no, you're good. I'm giving you a hard time with that. I really am. But this is what we all do. We take our particular experiences and we make them the experience. We all do that. But what that does is that forms very embedded beliefs and very powerful fears. So the belief is that men fill in the blank, right? Men fall off the rails and do very harmful things in their 50s. So if I'm dating anyone, post 50, it's like nope, or pre 50 for that matter. So of course you're not going to want to.
It's probably not the 50s thing. It's just something in my mind. You know
For
what
sure.
the truth is? The truth is, I prayed so hard throughout that whole marriage, and when I realized free will, he had free will. That no matter how much I prayed, his free will took over.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
And
I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
So I trust the Lord. He's probably about the only one.
Yes. Well, and I think it just sounds like you've been around people who didn't know how to connect and love you properly. And so it makes sense that you're fearful of like, am I going to do that one more time? And I don't think it's in me to do it one more time. And that makes
and I
exactly
wonder.
how I feel.
Well, and Susie, have you let this man know that that's what's going on inside of you?
Yes, we are in a counselor several times a month
Mm.
for what they're calling premarital counseling. What I'm calling getting to know one another better. But it literally is a program called Save Your Marriage Before It Starts.
Yeah, I've heard of the program, but I'm just curious as to how long are you going to stay with this concept of getting to know each other better when you've got the big no, I don't want to get married again question in your head?
He doesn't go away, and I do love him very much. And he knows that. He's very secure in that. So I think he thinks that I'm just going to change my mind. And sometimes I think I will, but deep down I know I will not.
Well, that points to what you're not secure in. You're not secure in you're not secure in you. Right? There's something inside of you that says, "Whoa, this is untrustworthy if I live out the story." I
don't know that I understand.
Okay, so again, I know it's not about the 50s, but it's like if people are painful and men are untrustworthy and I don't want to get hurt again, and that big sign inside of neon sign that says no. So if that isn't healed and grown through, that thing just remains there and it stops. And so that's the thing inside of you that you can't trust. I can't trust me to get beyond the no.
Alice, what would you offer?
Susie, are there any major red flags about the man that you're dating?
I don't live with him. So there's a lot of time that he has that I don't know what he does. I don't need to know. Don't misunderstand. I don't distrust him. But he is I've been a Christian for a very long time. He's been a Christian maybe 7 or 8 years, so he's newer in the game. The spiritual maturity is not the same. So I don't know that red flags, but I don't know.
But you do
That's
have
as simple as I know how to put it.
you have doubts, and it does feel certain that if you get married again, you will be hurt again, and likely by, I think it's infidelity. Does that fit for you?
Definitely infidelity.
Yes.
I don't feel like he would be. I don't feel like he would do that.
And yet I think it does seem as if all men will be unfaithful eventually. I think that's a belief that you experience inside of yourself.
It is, with my father, with my brothers, with my husband.
Okay.
Yeah, let's just tell the whole story here.
Okay. So
let's do.
I want you to know, Susie, that there was infidelity in my family of origin. And the victim of the infidelity, I thought, was just an ideal person. And so I grew up with a fear of if that person's going to be cheated on, and they're such a great person, I don't stand a chance. It's just a matter of time before my husband is unfaithful to me as well. Although my husband was a good man and showed no signs of a lack of integrity. But my historical fear was staining and poisoning my marriage. And it wasn't about my husband. It sounds like it's not about your boyfriend. It was about the fear that I carried inside of me because of the other people that had hurt my family and had hurt me. So our work, Susie, is to go in to do that historical restoration, and it probably involves the process of forgiving all of these perpetrators in your family tree. And infidelity is generational. It's likely to be passed on to the next generation. If somebody doesn't do the work, we've got to do the work. But Susie, as we start to tell our individual story of what we experienced from those perpetrations of infidelity, as we grieve with a counselor, as we grieve with other women, we start to heal, and it makes it possible to start to trust and to decipher who's a good man. Can I start to trust this man? So I think that there is trauma work that has yet to be done inside of you, and it doesn't seem like it's being touched yet by the good counseling that's going on within your relationship. And so I think you'll need to focus in on that. Go ahead.
He's trying, and unforgiveness causes a root of bitterness, and that is not something I deal with. To forgive comes very easily with the Jesus in me, I'll be honest with you.
Okay, so but there's another part of it. Pain always comes with fear.
I won't argue with that.
Okay, so what Alice is saying is that there's just a little more healing to be done so that the fear can dissipate. And so fear's not making your decisions for you.
Susie, there's a very effective form of therapy, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and that and other forms of trauma therapy, they get to that belief that's inside of us that in marriage I will inevitably be hurt by infidelity, because that's not 100% true. It's certainly been true in your family tree, but it's not always true, and that belief needs to be broken. The eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy gets into that emotionally charged belief, and it helps to dissolve it. So please consider adding that to the good counseling you're already doing.
Yeah, I think that's great. We're going to send her a copy of what, guys?
I think we start
I have a couple of ideas.
I think we start with Take Your Life Back.
Okay, perfect. We're going to send Susie a copy of that. I also want to encourage you, Susie, maybe attend our Restore workshop. It's going to be online in June, and it could be a great healing process for you before you take that next important step. We're going to go back to the phones, and we're going to keep taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. Now we're going to talk with Patrick, who listens on Sirius XM and is calling from Wichita, Kansas. Hi, Patrick. How can we help you today?
Hello. Well, I was recently divorced 4 weeks ago. It became final after 25 and a half years of marriage. And so, some people tell me, well, it's a sin to remarry or you shouldn't remarry. I don't necessarily think the divorce was a sin, but I don't want to be alone the rest of my life. And, I crave a relationship and affection and touch and everything. So, if it's a sin, what am I supposed to do?
Great question.
Patrick, could you tell us what happened? Why did the marriage end, and who initiated the divorce?
Well, I initiated divorce, but what happened was about a year ago, my stepdaughter, who's 42, had been incredibly disrespectful to me over the years, almost to the point of abuse. She lived with us. And I decided, well, enough's enough, and I told her she had to move out. And I gave her 2 months to move out, and she always threatened me, well, if you ever kick me out, my mom will go with me. And that's exactly what happened. My wife went with her and our daughter, my 20-year-old daughter. She moved in with them to an apartment. I moved to another apartment. We decided to sell our house, so we went our separate ways. But my wife said she was going to come back when the girls should be on their own. Well, they should be on their own anyway. But
Patrick?
The 40-year-old could. Yes.
Patrick, you can hear you can hear the music. We're going to take a break. It's a really sad situation, but I think we'll give you some hope on the other side of this break. We're going to continue to take calls, 1-800-229-3000. If you've got a struggle, we can help you get on the right path. And we're going to help Patrick when we come back. It's always something. And so we may need help from time to time.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We would love to hear from you. 1-800-229-3000. Right now, we are hearing from Patrick, who just recently was divorced after a long marriage, but there's been some complications. Patrick, I think your question is, what do you do next, right?
Yeah, and she decided, she was supposed to come back, but then through the process of the last 10 to 12 months, I would ask her, so if the girls were going to be on their own, would you come back? And now she finally says no, she won't come back at all. So if she's not going to come back, then I initiated the divorce. And I told her all through the process, if you come back and we go to Christian counseling, I will stop the divorce. But she kept saying no, even up to a week to when it was final. So it's over, new chapter in my life. But I've been through a lot of chaos the last few years, especially the last year. But I'm not letting it stop me from moving forward. And I'm an Uber driver. I pray for my customers all the time. I share Jesus all the time. I'm not letting it stop me, but I still don't want to be alone the rest of my life, and
okay. Well, let's hear what Chris has to say.
Patrick, I don't want you to be alone either. We started off the show saying that, our God's design is for us to not be alone. But right. I want you to table the remarriage thing for just a moment, because the divorce is fresh. And whether it's a sin or not, honestly, right now, I'm not going to get into that. Because I think there's a bigger thing in your life right now, is that I do want you to be able to share your life, and I want you to be able to know and be known. the very core of that word intimacy. Now, oftentimes we think of the word intimacy in the terms of, a romantic relationship or sexuality. But intimacy, again, is just God's design for us to be known and to know. And we function much better in that. And I find that through these difficult situations, especially guy to guy, is that I want you to cultivate and build really strong male relationships, really strong non-sexual intimacy.
Yeah, I have a very strong support system at my church.
Okay, good.
They're with me all the way. Just went on a men's retreat with 5 of the guys. It was really great.
Good.
And another issue I have going on too is my daughter, 23-year-old daughter, won't talk to me, won't text me, won't answer me.
Okay, so
I've only seen her once in the last year.
So this is So Patrick, let me jump in on that. This is really, really important. I want you to find tremendous strength and humility, because there are these key women in your life who don't want to connect with you. I want you to do a deep dive into figuring out why, without blame or defensiveness. Why would they not want to connect with me? And is there
Because they blame me for getting sick. They blame me because I don't approve of my daughter's transgenderism, even though I love her.
Okay.
I will not approve of it.
Yeah.
She's taking hormones to be a man, growing a beard, and for multiple reasons she won't talk to me. I've seen her once in the last year, so there's a lot of issues going on.
Yeah, for sure.
And in the midst of that, God has blessed me tremendously. So.
Yeah. And He has you. He's leading you. But again, I just want you to. I know there's a lot of different reasons. Could be reasons outside of your control. That's why we stay open and curious about it. But when we start seeing wait a second, there's these 3 people, and they kind of have maybe something in common. And if there's something inside of me, which I can say for me, Chris Williams, there's always something inside of me that is unhealthy or has a lot more growth to go. And so that's the one thing that we can control. We can't control other people, but if there's something inside of me that I'm like, this is what is hard for other people to be close to me or to relate to me or to not want to be around me, let me, without shame, right? It's just something that I need to grow in. I want you to consider
good. Alice?
that.
And
Oops,
Patrick,
sorry.
it may be your stance of faith that is unattractive to these 3 women in particular, because you've drawn a line
I agree with that.
Yes, that they don't.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Yes,
and we're told that will divide us even from our loved ones. We're warned about that in the Bible.
Right.
Our stance.
I want to move forward. Yes. I want to move forward and pursue God, and my former wife really didn't want to anymore. I think she's still a believer, but she just didn't want to make that effort to go to church or pursue God, and that's not healthy for me, And so, but I just feel like my family's been stolen out from underneath me, because there was never any abuse in our home, no drugs, no alcohol, nothing like that, no major chaos except my daughter being transgender.
And Patrick, even though it probably is a large factor that they don't want to live by your beliefs and by your standards, it's a major factor. I also want you to evaluate your attachment style, because the way we talk about faith, the way we practice our faith, it can be off-putting. Even if we're living the right way, we're living by God's way. And so we do have to check, how do we, as Chris is saying, how do we relate to people? I know, Patrick, that I'm an avoider and I'm a people pleaser, and sometimes that works well and sometimes that rubs people wrong. So we have to know what some of our shortcomings are, and we have to know how do we deliver our messages of faith? And is it in a way that pushes people away, or does it tend to draw people close? So do evaluate that. And then consider, Patrick, it sounds like you divorced with a biblical reason. Your wife abandoned you, and that is one of the permissible reasons the Bible gives us for divorce. And yet, if you have doubt about dating again, doubt about remarriage, the doubt means wait and continue to do your work. Because if we act without faith, the Bible says that's also sin. So walk with caution.
Yes, we're going to send you a copy of How We Love, Patrick, which will give you some insight into what we're talking about when we talk about how we connect and how we relate to people. And go slow. I think you've got some time to heal and to grieve the loss which may give you some awareness about how to go in the next direction. We'll be right back after this.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery. And one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If you haven't heard already, we have a matching gift campaign going on right now. That means that every gift that you give to New Life in the month, well, until we meet the match, which is at $325,000 was given to encourage people to give to the ministry that changes lives. Here's a testimony. I will be forever grateful for New Life Live as the vehicle God used to save my life. I went back to drinking after almost 5 years in AA because I quit doing the necessary things to stay sober. I thought I would die drunk. But after 23 years of continuous drinking, I found the radio show and within 11 months went to Healing as a Choice and later Take Your Life Back, as well as participating in a sustained healing group for 5 years. I've been in recovery for almost 9 years now. I'm alive today because God and New Life. I will continue to give back what was so freely given to me. Isn't that amazing? And I tell you, folks, now's the time to give. If you've never given, everything that you give will be doubled up into the $325,000. We want to meet it really quickly because we know that God has work to do through New Life. And we're so grateful for those of you who give on a regular basis. All right, now we're going to go back to the calls because that's one of the things that we do. We're going to talk with Bill, who's calling us from Baltimore, Maryland. He listens on WAVA. We love WAVA. How are you, Bill, and how can we help you?
Okay, well, I'm confused and on what I should do. I have 5 sons, and my first wife died at age 43. I had 3 sons. And then I remarried 9 years later, and my wife had 2 sons. So my youngest son, that's the one my stepson, youngest stepson, unloaded on me a barrage of, I don't know, just call it nasty things that he had said. And this happened a month ago, and I decided not to respond to him yet. And I'm confused as I need some advice.
Okay.
And Bill, as you consider what he said, and a lot of it may have had to do more with other things he's been through in his life that he's perhaps projecting onto you, putting onto you, in all the mess of what he spilled out onto you, is there any glimmer of truth of something negative that has happened between you and your stepson?
No. He's always been the one. My four sons are they're independent, and they are very easy to get along with. My youngest son has always gone his own way when he wanted, and on his time. When I say go, he goes on his way. When my second wife, she died from cancer also 5.5 years ago. So I'm alone here now. And
and Bill, when you say your stepson goes his own way, is it really extreme behavior, illegal, substance use?
No, none of them have ever been on. I have done anything illegal or any substance abuse. None. Okay. I'm very fortunate.
If you give us the gist, the bottom line of what he spewed out onto you, what did he say?
Okay. He said to me in emails, which I've saved, he's thrown I call it the bird at me through an emoji twice. And that stunned me. I didn't know what they meant when, these emojis come through on my email. And I asked him, what does this mean? And then I looked up on the glossary of emojis. It's take a hike.
Sure. Yeah. And did he explain why he was upset with you? Did he ask you for something?
No.
Nothing.
No, he did not.
And Bill, how young was he when you became his stepfather?
He was 14.
Yeah, that's super helpful information. Because a 14-year-old who, I don't know where his biological father is in the mix and getting remarried, and in those teenage years, blended family for the teenager is really tough and difficult. He's lost his mom. He's had a hard way about it. And I think that intuitively he also maybe carries that label as the black sheep. He probably knows that he's different than his brothers. But regardless, what is crystal clear to me, Bill, is that this son of yours is just carrying a lot of hurt and anger. And you may and you may happen to trigger that or be the cause of some of that, but most likely you're just the safest place for him to be able to express it. He doesn't know what to do with it or where to go with it. And so I would highly, highly recommend getting into, if he's willing, and invite him and just say, I want to hear you. I want a relationship with you. I want us to be in a good spot. Let's talk about this. Can we get into a counselor where you and I could do some father-son work?
And Bill, if he won't go to counseling, you can attempt to have that conversation. It'd be tough, but you could try to have it even without a counselor. You might follow the steps of the Comfort Circle from Mylan and Kay's book, How We Love. The steps are very simple. The conversation itself can be difficult, but if we'll stick with the steps of listening and looking for an attempt to understand where your stepson is coming from, it can start to build up relationship between the two of you. What we have to hold back on is defensiveness and blame shifting or minimizing what your son went through. I have had conversations with my children, Bill, where they accuse me of something I didn't do. My daughter told me recently, you left me out of the family activity and it's because you don't care about me. Bill, none of that was true. I had very legitimate reasons for why I did what I did, but she was hurt, and I needed to be a listener to her hurt to help her resolve it. Later, I was able to tell her why I did what I did, to explain it, but she first needed to be heard. It sounds like your stepson needs to be heard. Now, you can put limits around that conversation by saying, I want to understand your anger, and I can do that if you'll keep a level tone of voice, if you don't swear, you don't name call, you don't yell at me. I really want to hear you. Will you tell me why you're so angry?
Yeah, I love that. We'll send you a copy of How We Love. That'll give you the comfort circle, and also we can connect you with a therapist in your area. We're going to continue taking calls. You can call us at 1-800-229-3000. Right now, we are going to speak with Matthew, who listens on WNQM from Nashville. Hi, Matthew. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hey, first I'd like to thank you guys for your show. It's awesome. I listen to it whenever I can. By the way, how's Steve doing? What's he doing? I haven't heard from him for a while.
Well, he's doing all right. He's traveling, and so that's why I'm here today, Matthew. Sorry to disappoint you that he's not here, but you'll have to check in another time. But we're glad you called today, and I'm thankful that you're listening.
No problem.
Okay.
Well, I guess I'll get right onto it.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, first of all, I mean, I've read quite a bit of Steve's books. Well, I've read I've read from Milan and Kay Yurkovich of How We Love. I've read Take Your Life Back, and also Every Young Man's Battle. So I really like those books. But
Great.
My question, I've also called by the way 2 other times, and you guys have helped. Thank you very much. But my question this time is, I have my mom. I still live in my parents' house. I'm 16 years old, and I find that I have a broken relationship with my mom. I really want to fix that broken relationship. I can admit I've been pretty rebellious at times, and that's what a normal teenager does. But I feel like I'm the problem, so I want to find out how to change that.
And Matthew, if you shared with your mom what you just shared with us, how do you think she'd respond?
Probably she would say, well, why don't you do something about it? Or yeah, you see, or something like that,
So she would receive it, but there wouldn't be further conversation. Matthew, you can hear the music. We're going to take a quick break before we answer your call. I'm stunned by the fact that as a 16-year-old, you've read those books and you're doing this work. And, there's a lot of parents out there that are listening right now going, thank God Matthew is giving us, encouragement that
Hope
there
for
can
the
be
future.
change. And so, right. So we're glad that you called, Matthew. We'll get back to you after this. If you have a trouble in your relationship, whether it's your mom or wife or dad, husband, we're here for you. 1-800-229-3000. We'll answer your call. We also have great resources and workshops. As you know, we talk about them all the time because we've seen God work in those workshops, and we want to help you. We'll be right back after this.
We went to the Intimacy and Marriage in 2019. We were both done.
This is Steve Arterburn. Do you feel like your marriage is done? New Life can help. We believe that everybody has room to grow in the intimacy level of their life. Our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more, or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to experience a new level of intimacy and have a great marriage.
The transformation, phenomenal. It has transformed our lives so much.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue. and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. Like I mentioned before, we are going to continue taking calls for the next hour. If you are on hold, please hold on. We'll get right to you. Right now, we're speaking with Matthew, and you've given us some great encouragement, Matthew, but you're still having some struggles. Chris or Alice, who wants to start?
Yeah, Matthew, would you give us an example of your rebelliousness and maybe the worst impact you think it's had on your mom?
Actually, just yesterday, I found myself, she was telling me, "Hey, let's work outside. Let's get some projects done." And I find myself just staying in my room and not listening to her. And she actually came to the point where she actually started trying to break down the door because I just didn't listen to her. And I find myself, I find that she sometimes even gets moved to tears when I'm just rebellious and defiant.
So Matthew, when it comes to your mom, what are you afraid of?
One tendency that she likes to do is that she likes to tell my dad, and my dad, many times the dads seem to be like the promoters of mothers, and many times they always they support their moms, and I'm afraid that if they both unite together, who knows what could happen. So that's what I'm afraid of.
Listen, Matthew, if you're in a tough situation, I'm going to be very honest, okay? So you're doing all of these things, okay? And like you said, there is a rebellious side of you. And the rebel is actually, I believe, trying to protect you. And it's also trying to say something very clearly. If you could say something to your mom about how you experience her that you're afraid to say, what would that thing be? Mom, being with you is like this. Is like what?
I'd probably say unfair. I don't feel appreciated. That kind of thing.
Yeah, you don't feel loved for who you are. Would that be accurate? Or accepted for who you are? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes when we grow up in environments, and I'm not here to disparage your parents, I'm just here to explain something. When we grow up in environments where right behavior equals love, they naturally produces rebellion. Because there's a part in us that ultimately says, I am worth more than my right behavior. Right behavior isn't safety. Love is safety. Right behavior helps that, for sure. But we have to work that out throughout our life. But what that creates is this very, very transactional world, right? Where if I'm right, then I'm okay. And if I'm bad, then I'm not okay. And we call that a good-bad split that keeps us in a fairly infantile or immature place. Rather than I'm loved and I'm working some things out in the light, and some things are not good, some things are, but it is care and concern that is going to guide me in wisdom to move forward, not getting it right. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. So your heart is hurting.
I have a question though, Chris. So Matthew, what kept you from going out of the door? That's where, because I hear that question. Chris, would that be an example of that?
Yeah. That would be an example to say, there's something about being with you I really don't like. but I'm not showing you my protest sign. And she needs to see your protest sign. She needs to know what's on there.
Matthew, the way you said that your mom tried to break the door down, are your parents ever aggressive in a way that's pretty intimidating to you, that you're worried for your safety?
They're not abusive. I will not say they're abusive. They are not. But many times I feel like anger can control them, and they just do things that they normally would not have done,
And I would guess, Matthew, that they maybe had a real tough time growing up, that maybe they grew up in some difficult families of origin.
Well, yeah, for my mom, her dad died when she was 19. My dad also, his mom died too.
So even just that, there's been some significant loss for both of your parents. And maybe when they get angry and they have some legitimate upset with you, their anger might become too big and a little bit too much out of their control. Even though you say you're physically safe, but their anger is still over the top. It's really intimidating. Now, on your side of things, perhaps sometimes you say the right words and yet you don't repent in your behavior. So you tell your mom you're sorry, but you keep doing the same thing that's bothering her. One of the answers to this is family therapy, to help your parents unpack the emotional baggage they're carrying that probably spills out on you and exacerbates their anger with you. But maybe there is some character change too that you're not quite getting to within yourself. And so you are frustrating to your parents when you're disobedient to them and you don't always understand why you do what you do. Matthew, if you went to your mom to say, yeah, I've said I'm sorry before, but I don't always change, and I think I could use some help. Maybe our family could use some help. Mom, could we try out a family therapy session? What do you think she would say to that?
I actually have no idea. I don't know. I've never thought of that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Matthew, I want you to try that out with her. And if she'll say yes to it, we can connect you with a family therapist that could help you folks all start to unpack and walk through this, give you some better strategies to handle these frustrations.
Okay.
All right. Chris, do you have any last words that you want to give to Matthew?
I think it's for us parents. Oftentimes, we're looking for our children to make our life easier because, let's face it, they make it much tougher. And so I tend to at times be a little bit harder on my boys than I'd like to because I want compliance. And this is also true in organizational leadership. We want compliance. But here's the truth, and this is a hard truth. If you choose compliance, you will never get allegiance. What I really want is allegiance. But compliance is about behavior. Allegiance is about the heart. And it's about getting down to the heart level. So, yes, we want our children to have proper, good, right behavior. But that without a aligned heart only creates a future Pharisee. And so what we need to be able to do, and I need to be able to do, is get down into the heart level. And it's tough because kids don't always go there and don't go there readily. But let's get down to the heart issue and let's get into our children's hearts, and that is through their experience. And yes, like Alice said, they say the darndest things that aren't true. But there's something behind that they're experiencing that's going to take us work to attune to get into, to help realign their hearts. I want my children not to have right behavior as much as I want them to have an aligned heart to God.
Well, and also just that connection, Chris, is what you're talking about.
Yes.
It's what we were talking about the other day on the show. We talked about correction follows connection. It's, you can't correct unless you're connected, because that bitterness comes up. We're glad that you called, Matthew. And, we know that we don't have all the information. We know that there's two sides, but I think it would be great for you to do what Alice said and get into a family session and just try to, reestablish that connection that may be just out of line. As we go into these last moments of the show, if you're on the line, please hold on. We're going to keep taking calls, 1-800-229-3000. We just hope that something that you heard today will encourage you to take a step into a healing direction. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, callers. And thank you, listeners. don't forget, there's a match. You can give and double your giving, and it'll make a difference in the lives of so many people. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.